Welcome back to IFA News Channel podcast. Today we have an important topic to discuss. Wuhan lab most likely coronavirus source. US government report finds. Is China in great trouble? Now US government's own report suggests with evidence that Wuhan lab in China, the main source, the only source of coronavirus COVID-19. Wuhan laboratory is the most likely sources of COVID-19 outbreak, which is now ravaging the globe. US government research team has catalogs that evidence and concluded that other explanation for the origin of the coronavirus are less credible. The document complied from open sources and not a final report says there is no smoking gun to blame the virus on either Wuhan Institute of Virology or the Wuhan branch of the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention, both located in the city, by the way, where the first outbreak were reported. But there is circumstantial evidence to suggest such may be the case, the paper says. All other possible places of the virus origin have been proved to be highly unlikely. The document concludes. A copy of the report, compiled this month, was obtained by the US media, the Washington Times. Chinese authorities have said that the origin of the virus is unknown, but initially stated that it came from animals at the wet market in Wuhan, where exotic meat is butchered and sold. They said the virus may have jumped from bat to animal, sold at the market last year, and then infected the humans. US officials have grown increasingly skeptical of that version of the events. The President Donald Trump confirmed this month that a lot of people are investigating the origin. So basically US is having a clear doubt of biological warfare against their country. The only benefiter from the coronavirus is China. Today China is making record-breaking billions and billions of dollars of COVID-19 support kits trade with all other countries in the world. So US is having this doubt that this may be a clear indication that the coronavirus is actually a biological war. The Army General Mark A. Milley, chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, said US intelligence agencies are investigating whether the virus escaped from the lab or was the result of a naturally occurring outbreak. At this point, it's inconclusive, although the weight of evidence seems to indicate neutral, the general said on April 14th. He also said that, but we don't know for certain. The government analysis says the animal host explanation doesn't hold up well because the first human diagnosis of COVID-19 was a person who had no connection with wet market. According to the report from China, no bats were sold at the market. So China lied that bats were sold and coronavirus came from the bat and transferred to the human bodies. So which is wrong. That's what US report has concluded. Meanwhile, a number of suspicion actions and a paper trail suggest that the virus escaped from one of the labs, though China is clamping down on the ability to pursue those leads. The most logical place to investigate the virus origin has to be completely sealed off from the outside inquiry by the CCP, said the document, referring to the Chinese Communist Party. The party has taken draconian steps to control information about the virus since January. A gag order to both places was issued on January 1st, 2020, and a Major General from the PLA, who is China's topmost military microbiologist, essentially took over the Wuhan Institute of Virology Both the labs under scrutiny in the report have conducted extensive research on bat coronavirus, including those that have close molecular similarities to SARS-CoV-2, the full designation of the new pathogen. Among the most significant circumstantial evidence identified in the report are the activities of Shi Zhengli, a leader in bat coronavirus research with the Wuhan Institute of Virology, China's only high-security Level 4 research laboratory, by the way. Ms. Shi has been involved in bioengineering bat coronavirus, and medical doctor named Wu Zio and another medical doctor, I can't pronounce it properly. His name is Wu, W-U, Xiaohua. I don't know how to pronounce that. You can figure it out. So these two guys launched an online campaign to expose Mr. Xi's work. Dr. Wu said she believes that coronavirus at the root of the pandemic is one of 50 viruses in a database scientist Xi manages. The document also points to a 2015 academic report in Nature Medicine by Xi and 14 other scientists who said that while researching the potential for bat coronavirus to infect humans, we built a chimeric virus encoding a novel zoonotic spike protein. It means animal origin protein that was isolated from Chinese horseshoe bats. The scientists said the hybrid virus allowed researchers to study the ability of the virus to case study on how these viruses cause disease. Dr. Wu stated in an internet posting that scientist Xi used laboratory animals to test the human infection virus, and one of those animals may have been the origin of the pandemic. Dr. Wu also asserted that the institute's virus-carrying animals have been sold as pet. Dead laboratory animals were not properly disposed of, and lab workers were known to boil and eat laboratory-used egg. This is pathetic, you see. Chinese are testing different kind of dangerous virus, which can be dangerous for the humanity, and they are not taking care on disposing the subject they've been used to test these virus. So these animals, and for example eggs, in some cases eggs have been tested with these virus. Not only this virus, but many other viruses have been disposed just like that on streets and sold in Wuhan wet market, for example. Even some laboratory officials and the workers, the people who are working inside the laboratory, are eating these eggs and the animals. Oh my god. And who's charge of WIV management? Negligence, that is Wuhan's virus lab. Negligence are specific and have not been convincingly rebutted by the Wuhan lab. Ms. Shi has worked closely with several US virologists, and some American scientists have defended her and the institute from critics who point to her work with bat virus as a needed focus on the investigation. The analysis says scientist Shi, in response to Dr. Wu's assertion, said in March on her social media account, "I promise with my family that the virus has nothing to do with the lab." Another piece of circumstantial evidence cited the paper is a mysterious disappearance of Wang Yaling. Those seeking the origin of SARS-CoV-2 suspect the laboratory worker is patient 0, the first known human infected with the virus. Huang worked at WIV, but she is the only WIV employee whose biography, profile and picture have been deleted by WIV on its website, fueling speculation, foul play, the report said. The institute issued a firm denial. It said Ms. Huang is healthy and has left the institute and moved to another province to work, but Huang herself has never appeared in public, and she has since disappeared. The report said noting that her whereabouts fueled widespread inquiries among Chinese on the internet. China in March imposed restriction on all publications regarding the origin of the virus. Director of the Wuhan Institute of Virology (WIV) stated publicly this month that there is no way this virus came from us, which is obviously he will say that. Who's going to take the responsibility? It will be a biggest blunder if they say they are the responsible for the whole humanity suffering due to this coronavirus. They're not going to say. So, Edward Holmes, evolutionary virologist at the University of Sydney in Australia, said there is no evidence that the virus that causes COVID-19 in human originated in a laboratory in Wuhan, China. He said the bat virus kept at the Chinese Wuhan Institute of Virology was sampled from the different provinces, and that the genome sequence divergence between that virus RATG13 and SARS-CoV-2 is equivalent to an average of 50 years and at least 20 years evolutionary changes. Hence, SARS-CoV-2 was not derived from RATG13, he wrote in a piece for the Science Media Center. The Washington Times first reported in January that the virus might have been released or escaped from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Several academic papers have since concluded that there is no evidence the virus was manufactured in a lab. Though scientists debate whether it may have escaped. France, which signed a deal in 2004 to help China create the Level of 4 Institute, said this month that its experts believe the lab is not the source of the coronavirus spread. We would like to make it clear that there is to this day no factual evidence corroborating the information recently circulating in United States press that establishes a link between the origin of COVID-19 and the work of the P4 laboratory of Wuhan, China, said the spokesperson for French President Emmanuel Macron. French believe that this virus did not come from Chinese lab. So they are actually believing that this virus could be a natural evolution, a natural transmission from a bat to human, some way or another. So they are not blaming China, but US seems like they have concluded, they have came to one conclusion that China is responsible for the virus. Mr. Trump and the US officials have denied that accusation, which contradicts China's initial assertion that the virus leaped from the bat to human. Chen Win, a senior Chinese diplomat in Britain, told the BBC on Friday that China has rejected international calls for an investigation into the virus. He said that demands were politically motivated and an attempt to divert China's attention to fight the pandemic. Earlier that week, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said he could seek an investigation at the annual meeting next month of the World Health Assembly, part of World Health Organization WHO. So this is a basic report from the US fact-finding team. They are suggesting that the virus and the patient COVID-19 zero is actually an employee at WIV, Wuhan Institute of Virology. But so far, no other country has claimed this report to be true. France is saying it is not possible for the COVID-19 to be linked with biological war by China. The same goes with the Australians. So what is happening? We have to wait and watch. Thank you for listening to our podcast. So kindly share and subscribe our channel. We will be back with another discussion on our podcast.